In the previous video, not in the previous video, sorry, in your activity guide, you had to figure out if the sine functions of two angles are equal. In particular, you had to say if sine of 30 was equal to sine of 390 degrees. Well, if you remember from the Ferris wheel, sine of an angle is really how far up the Ferris wheel you go. So if we draw an angle of 30 degrees over here, 30 degrees, right? The sine of that angle is equal to the height above the starting point. So this length over here is equal to sine of 30 degrees. If we look at 390 degrees, we have to first draw the angle. Well, first we're going 360 degrees, and then to go to 390 we have another 30 degrees left. So 390 degrees really looks exactly the same as 30 degrees. And the sine of 390 degrees is again the height of the Ferris wheel above the starting point, the height of the Ferris wheel car. So this length over here is going to be equal to sine of 390 degrees. Therefore, the two sine functions are equal because they represent the length across from the angle over here and the side, again, the length across from the angle over here. As those two angles look exactly the same in the unit circle, their sine functions are also the same. I want to do another example for you. This time, I hope this will help you understand better. I'm just going to make this a little box. I'm going to check if sine of 770 is equal to sine of 50. So to be able to answer this question, I really have to find out if angle with measure 770 degrees is coterminal with angle that measures 50 degrees. Okay, this is what I really have to find out. If the two angles are coterminal, then we already know that their sine functions are going to be equal. So here's a little procedure for you to find this out. First of all, we need to figure out how many full circles there are in 770 degrees. We know a full circle is equal to 360. So we have to find out how many times does 360 go into 770. How many times does 360 degrees go into 770 degrees? Well, when we try to answer a question with how many times something goes into something else, we always use division. So we're going to do 770 degrees divided by 360 degrees. And if you use your calculator, you're going to get something like 2 point something. So it goes in 2 times, and plus there is some remainder, right? It goes more than 2 times, but we know it goes in fully 2 times with something left over. So what we're going to do now, we're going to take 770 degrees and we're going to subtract those 2 times we go around the circle. So we're going to do 770 minus 2 times 360. degrees. And we end up with 770 degrees minus 720 degrees, which is equal to 50 degrees. Okay, what does that mean? What did we just get? Okay, this was our step 2. The conclusion is that 770 degrees is coterminal with 50 degrees. Okay? Therefore, they're gonna look the same on the unit circle. Here is how they're gonna look. This is angle of 50 degrees over here. And an angle of 770 degrees is going to look like that. 1 time around the circle, 2 times around the circle, that's 720, and another 50 degrees. So 50 degrees is coterminal with 770 degrees. They look the same inside the unit circle. Therefore, their sine function, which is this height over here, is going to be equal. So sine of 770 degrees will be equal to sine of 50 degrees. Now, we have to do the same, however, with radians. Here it becomes a little more challenging at first, but in reality, the only challenge is that we are using fractions. The steps we will use are exactly the same as we used for degrees. However, this time we're talking in radians. The question we're going to answer is sine of 19 pi over 4 equal to sine of 3 pi over 4? So to find the answer, we first need to find out if this angle is coterminal with this angle. Let's follow the same steps. Step 1 over here was to figure out how many times does 360 go into 770. In this case, we're going to ask the following question. How many times does, instead of 360, we're going to say 2 pi, because 360 is equal to 2 pi. How many times does 2 pi go into 19 pi over 4? Well, to find this out, here we divided 770 by 360. So in this case, what we're going to do is we're going to divide 19 pi over 4 divided by 2 pi. Well, you know that when I'm dealing with fractions, I can always put a fraction bar and write a 1 under a whole number. And when I divide, I keep the first fraction the way it is. I change the division to multiplication, and then I flip over here. So I'm going to flip. 1's going to go on top, 2 pi is going to go on the bottom. The pi's are canceling out, and what I get is 19 divided by 8. If you plug this into your calculator, you're going to get something like 2 point something something something. So it's 2 times plus some remainder. Now we're going to go to step 2. Step 2 is exactly the same as the one we used for degrees. We're going to take our original angle, 19 pi, over 4, and we're going to subtract those 2 times we went around this 2 times that the angle's going around the circle, full 2 times around the circle. So we're going 2 times 2 pi, because the circle is equal to 2 pi. We're going 2 times around the circle, 2 times around the circle. What do we get? 19 pi over 4 minus 4 pi. Again, here I'm subtracting fractions, so I have to put a 1 under, and I have to find a common denominator. Well, here I have 4, here I have 1. I have to make the 1 equal to 4, so I'm going to multiply the bottom by 4. So that I don't change the fraction, I'm going to multiply the top by 4. Why am I not changing the fraction? Because I can always cross these 4's out. Now I get 19 pi over 4. Oh, let me just go back and use the right colors. doesn't want to go back. Okay. Now, what we're getting here is 19 pi over 4 minus 16 pi over 4. That's easy. Now I have a common denominator. I can just do 19 minus 16, and this is equal to 3 pi. Okay, so what does that mean? What does this answer show me? This answer shows me that 19 pi over 4 is coterminal with 3 pi over 4. Let's see how this looks on the unit circle. I draw my circle, and here is pi. This is the angle pi, right? Pi, it's half the circle. And I have to divide pi by 4 parts. So I'm going to divide pi first in half, and then in 2 more halves. Imagine those 4 parts are equal, right? And I have 3 times pi over 4. So I have 3/4. I have 1/4, 2/4, 3/4. So this is the angle we're talking about. This is the angle we're talking about. Let me change color. Okay, this is the angle we're talking. Oh God, this is ugly. This is the angle we're talking about. Okay? Now, if I'm doing 19 pi over 4, this means that I'm going around the circle 1 time, 2 times, plus 3 pi over 4. So this angle is both 19 pi over 4 and 3 pi over 4. It looks the same in the unit circle. Therefore, sine of 19 pi over 4 will be equal to sine of 3/4 pi, because this over here represents the sine of that angle, and it's the same length. I hope this makes sense. It's a little more complicated than what we usually do. If you have any questions, definitely write me an email and I can make another video to try to help you better. Okay? Thank you.